Welcome to Tax Strategy Digest, where we explore the fascinating world of finance. Join us as we dive into the stories, insights, and experiences of experts, thought leaders, and everyday people who are making a difference in this field. Through engaging conversations and thought-provoking discussions, we'll take a deep dive into the latest research, trends, and innovations shaping finance. So sit back, relax, and get ready to learn something new on this exciting journey with us. Today, our guest is Jesse Futia. Jesse was a college kid who recently grew a seven-figure real estate portfolio, and he has transformed into an industry-leading LinkedIn ghostwriter. Jesse, great to have you, and thanks for joining us on this episode today.
Paul, I'm pumped to be here, dude. You're a guy that I know crushes it in the space, and we became connected to each other through LinkedIn and stuff like that, dude. So it's fun to connect with other young entrepreneurs that are out there getting after it, hustling and crushing it every week like you are, dude. So I'm pumped to be here, dude, and excited to add value to your listeners in any way that I can.
Totally, totally. Well, let's jump into it. Tell us obviously a little bit about your story. There's a good reason I reached out to you and I wanted you to come on here because I knew that you could provide just a whole lot of value, and especially as a younger guy learning the ropes really on your own. I think that a lot of people are going to be able to benefit from this. So tell us about your story.
Yeah, so originally I'm born and raised in upstate New York. That's where I'm from. Um, I went to college up there and I did Army ROTC in college. And so the Army paid for my schooling, and then I commissioned into the Army as an officer afterwards once I graduated. But I was moving off campus. This was like 2015 or something like that. I think I was like a sophomore into my junior year or whatever. But I was moving off campus and I was looking for places to live and whatnot. And all the places were like just typical college slum houses, rat holes, whatever you want to call them. So my father and I had this idea. We were like, hey, what if we bought a house together, and I'll live in the house, I'll manage and operate it. And obviously I'm a college kid. I don't have any, cash for the down payment at that time, but my father obviously does. So I looked at it as like an income producing opportunity that would benefit both of us in the long run. So that was in 2015. We bought my college house. I moved into it. I rented it to all my Army buddies. And then over the next 5, 6, 7 years, I helped him scale that portfolio to today. It's about 50 total beds that we rent to college kids in upstate New York. That's super profitable and crushes it. And it's at 100% occupancy and does really well in that niche. Over the last couple of years, I would say 2, 3 years ago, I began making the jump to commercial real estate. We started syndicating and JVing RV parks, mobile home parks, and self-storage facilities, which have been another amazing, incredible opportunities to get after really kind of more niche assets other than, your typical multifamily or something along those lines. And those were great learning experiences, opportunities that we can't wait to continue to expand on over these next couple of years. And then I would say probably about 2 years ago, I was again in this predicament. Like I was in this problem set where I'm like 25 years old. I don't have this $1 million network to start raising millions of dollars for these deals. And I'm like, where else can I find equity at? And I turned to social media and I was like, there's definitely opportunity here. I'm not sure on, places like LinkedIn and stuff like that people are targeting, but I was like, LinkedIn is a place where savvy, professionals congregate. Like there's definitely high net worth people here. There's definitely equity on this platform, but I don't see anyone like really targeting it on like a daily basis. So I began this process super slowly in like 2021 of writing on LinkedIn every day, building my brand, connecting with investors. And really quickly within like 6 months or so, or within 3 to 6 months, I started finding traction, people reaching out to me, accredited investors like, hey, Jesse, like, I never knew you could passively invest in real estate. Can I invest in, or can we connect and build this relationship? And can I invest in one of your future opportunities if it's the right fit? So that kind of blew up overnight. And that was like crazy. I had no idea that leveraging social media that you could raise millions of dollars on it, which was just such a powerful brand building, perspective for a dude like me in my 20s. And then 6 or 7 months ago, I found another opportunity where we began ghostwriting for other real estate professionals, helping them, people who don't have the time or the energy or kind of the know-it-all to write the content to drive, more leads, more investors, things, kind of like that. So we started ghostwriting for other real estate professionals to help them also achieve the same results that I've achieved over the last several years. So it's been a really awesome ride. It's been crazy over these last, couple of years, but excited to keep going here and keep kind of building the stream as a young entrepreneur, and sprinkling all in there is my military career, which is my W-2 that's been going on all the way. And my background's in special operations. I was a U.S. Army Ranger and been all over the world with those guys and in an elite organization like that, which has been super fulfilling as well. So a lot there to unpack, Paul. I don't mean to hit everyone at it at once, but wherever you want to kick it off, dude, just, let me know. So
No, I love it. So I think first and foremost, myself and all the listeners, thank you for your service. That's definitely the first thing. And then I do want to come back a little later on and circle back into the ghostwriting and how you've really built your brand on LinkedIn. But why don't we start with some of the real estate? So you said that it started off, you were in college and you and your dad, you guys bought that first home. Have you found that having those beds that you're renting out to college students, is that a lot more, maybe not even profitable, but a lot more consistent than other investments, than maybe your other alternative investments, um, such as the self-storage units or
mhm.
whatever that might be? What's kind of the balance you guys have found that works really well?
Yeah, student housing is super consistent, very profitable niche that not a lot of people think about. And it's really been booming here over the last few years. And with these particular opportunities that we purchased in New York, these were duplexes that I'm saying like 4 bedroom, 1 bath upstairs, 4 bedroom, 1 bath unit downstairs. And we took these duplexes and we flipped them into student housing, where now we've taken this duplex and basically we're renting it like an 8 unit apartment building almost, where we're renting it by the bed to college kids instead of charging, we probably could have gotten like 1,500 a unit back then in like 2015, but now we're renting 4 beds at 500 a bed per month. So now we're getting 2,000, in theory, 2,000 a unit. It's really interesting. It's a great space to get ahead as well. We're kind of investors who we invest a lot of money into the properties. We're putting stainless steel appliances into them. We're putting unique fixtures in them as well. And when the college kids walk in, it's like, wow, this is crazy. I've visited 5 shitholes today, and this is like a class A property. So, it drives the bottom line. We don't do any marketing. It's all word of mouth, and it's because of the product that we supply is better than the competition at a price that beats the competition. And when you're competing against slumlords, it's pretty easy to stay 100% occupied, 100% of the time. But student housing is a great asset class out there. I'm sure there's a lot of people listening who are intrigued by it. I think that education will always be something that's in demand. There'll always be kids going away to college, for the next, who knows, 100 years or whatnot. But it's an asset that will always be there, and there's a great opportunity. And something else to kind of talk about with that asset as well is the fact that, a lot of our tenants aren't the ones who pay the rent. It's really their parents. So it's easier for us to kind of collect the rent and to have more predictable collections and cash flow would probably be the better way to say that. Because really we're not chasing after 18-year-old John Doe, or it's his mother and father that are helping him pay the rent at the end of the day. So
Yeah, and one big concern I always hear about student housing, so I don't know if you've had this problem, but what I've heard is that there is a lot of damage done to the properties, or security deposits. They obviously get used, and now they need a lot more because the rooms have been absolutely destroyed. The kitchen, the furniture, whatever you guys provide, maybe it's just the stove and the microwave, but those have been brutally destroyed. Have you guys found anything like that where it's just significant damage to the property, or has it been relatively okay?
yeah, I think that there's a couple ways to look at this. Like, absolutely, we've had like pieces of crap who destroy the property and whatnot. That's like in every asset class that has that small group of people. But investors like us who invest into the properties and take good care of them, we found that when we do things like that, when we hand the kids like a good property that's well maintained, there's kind of like this pride of ownership where it's like, this is already a nice place. I want to keep it a nice place. And they want to almost maintain it themselves. So what that attracts, though, is because we put so much money into these properties, is we attract a higher quality tenant. than maybe a college kid who's doing drugs and just flunking out of school and doesn't even go to class. Those aren't the quality of tenants that we attract because we put so much quality into our assets. But I know so many stories out there of landlords who have lost money and are hemorrhaging cash because of expenses of repairs and stuff like that in the asset class. If you're going to get into student housing and you're just going to be a slumlord, my recommendation would just go be a slumlord in multifamily, and then you can rent to families, and it'll just be easier. If you're going to get into student housing, like if you really want to get ahead and make as much money and be profitable like we do, like put the time and the effort into the properties, and the bottom line will show it itself. I mean, we've been 100% occupancy, 100% collections for the last 7 years straight through COVID, and it's because of the type and quality of tenant that we attract. Because that's another big fear, a big rebuttal I get on student housing is like the whole COVID thing. And we weren't affected by it, but that's probably why we place so much value into our properties and whatnot, because we're attracting the higher quality tenant. The higher quality tenant's gonna, in theory, have parents who are of higher net worth or higher, who can keep paying the rent through something like COVID, and therefore we stayed at 100% collections the entire time.
Nice. And then you just mentioned COVID. How did that impact not only, so you said it didn't really impact the student housing. What about your other investments, the things like the mobile home parks, the what are they called? The self-storage company. How did that affect it?
Yeah, I mean, we did well through all of it. I mean, I think we were super blessed and thankful that we bought good assets and good areas that continued to thrive even during that time of rent control or suspended rent or whatever they were doing back then. I mean, we had really near no issues. And I think at the end of the day, again, it just comes down to the foundation of like, we put a lot of money into these properties, and our goal really at the end of the day is to continue to provide a safe, secure, clean place for people to live. And when you attack with those three kind of pillars, or you lead with those three types of pillars, then there's no way to go wrong. You're going to continue to attract really good people who want to be in your properties, who want to pay money, who have pride of ownership. And if you don't, lead with those three pillars, and you're going to attract the opposite. And they're going to be the people who destroy the properties, who never pay their rent on time, who are headaches every day, who sue you, who do all these stupid things that are just keeping you awake at night. So
Yeah, and that kind of leads me to thinking, so for someone who's looking and listening right now, if they are someone who maybe they're a high W-2 earner, they want a very hands-off approach. What route would you recommend for them? Would it be something like college housing? Would it be investing in something that's a self-storage unit? Is it working with a syndicator? I mean, what's the best way for them to maximize their time and remain as efficient as possible?
yeah, when I talk to people like this all the time, I think the biggest decision that people have to come to is really with real estate investing, there's two paths in my mind that you can go down. You can be active or you can be passive. And I think that active wise, how I got started, you're a landlord at the end of the day. We manage these houses ourselves. You're a landlord. You're doing the maintenance, you're fixing the toilets, you're doing all these things. And that's a great way to get started. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's how I got started. Not everybody has the opportunity to invest the time and effort into that route. But I would do the analysis on someone's end and be like, hey, is this something that I want to do? Do I want a house hack? Do I want to move into this duplex and I'm going to rent one side and I'm going to manage the other? It's a great way. It's a great slow way to get super rich over a long period of time, which is awesome. The other route that I would point people down is, do you want to be a passive investor? Do you want to passively invest with a syndicator like myself, who does all the sweat equity, does all the work, manages the property, and just gives you the cash flow on a monthly or quarterly basis, whatever the deal dictates? For a lot of people out there, that route makes a lot more sense. They're working 50, 60, maybe 70 hours a week. They've got the family, they've got a bunch of different obligations. They're looking for maybe a return structure that beats the traditional stock market historically, and could be a great alternative investment with awesome tax benefits and stuff like that. So when I'm doing the analysis or when I'm talking through with people, I'm always like, hey, I think you gotta view what your goals are, what are you trying to accomplish, and then backwards plan off that. Do you want to be getting calls? I was getting calls at 2 a.m. I still get calls at 2 a.m., but that's like the path I wanted to go and to learn and stuff like that. That doesn't make sense for everybody out there. So, I would figure out what your end state is, what you want to accomplish, and then backwards plan off that. Do I want to be active? Do I want to be passive? And then just figure out like, hey, if I want to be passive, I'm looking for opportunities with these types of returns. Let me network with the right sponsors that can achieve that.
Nice. Okay. And kind of on a similar note here. So a lot of the people listening right now are, yes, they are a lot of W-2 high wage earners, but there's also a lot of commercial real estate, as well as just individuals who are involved in any sort of real estate. Um, I know you're segueing a little bit into helping others build their brand. So I do want to talk about that. How have you been helping real estate professionals and really just professionals overall on LinkedIn build their brand?
Yeah. So again, to kind of hit on a couple quick things here, like this all started like a couple of years ago when I started writing online, and I'm a huge believer that finding a way to harness the internet and to grow on the internet is going to be like the future of this industry. Like if you're out there listening and you're 65 years old, or you're out there listening and you're 25 years old, it doesn't matter. You need to be able to grow a brand on the internet if you want to survive in this industry over the next 5 to 10 years. If you're like, hey, I'm not going to grow on the internet, you're going to get wiped out by those of us who do, because it's the future of brand building in commercial real estate. So that's kind of like the big thing that I want to just communicate to. I communicate to everyone when I talk to them on a daily basis. Like, if you're not growing a brand on social media and the internet, then you're going to get passed by those of us just like yourself, me, several other, 100,000 people out there who are growing on the internet today, because you've never had any more reach or digital reach than before right now. I think total today, there's like 4.9 billion people on the planet that have access to the internet. It's more than ever before. It's literally over half the planet's population. If you're achieving success right now by not building an online brand, my, word to you would be, imagine if you were. Like, imagine if you were kind of growing that brand. And that was like the idea that I had back in 2021. It was like, I don't have this $1 million network right now. I'm 25 years old. But what I can do is I can start building a brand into that $1 million network and start sharing all these stories and connecting with people. And that's exactly what's happened over the last, 12 months or so. Is I've continued to grow my brand, on a daily basis on LinkedIn, and that's continued to compound and grow into kind of building 7-figure relationships with people who pass me deals, people who want to invest in my deals, people DMing me, Jesse, I want to learn more about what you're doing. How can I, invest in your next opportunity? I mean, literally hundreds of leads a month coming into my inbox by kind of building my brand on social media. So I talk to people every day, Paul, who are like, Jesse, I don't need to build a brand online. Like, and it's like, dude, do you really think the internet is like going away? It's like, it's literally growing like and compounding every single month. Like, Meta invested $1 billion earlier this year into like artificial intelligence and stuff like that. Like, what do you think the future is going to hold? Like, we're not going to wake up tomorrow and not the internet's not going to be a thing. So, I would tell any investor out there, if you're an investor, if you're an owner or whatever, building a simple brand on the internet in 2023 could be the greatest investment that you ever make in your business.
I agree. I agree. And I saw something the other day on LinkedIn, and it was basically a post, and it just talked about, hey, look, I got 2,000 impressions on this post.
Mhm.
That's like the difference between me writing this and me making 2,000 phone calls to touch
Yeah.
on 2,000 people is 3 weeks of my life if I don't sleep, eat, shower, do anything else, if I'm just making phone calls. So that's the power of social media, right? It takes you 5 minutes to write up your poster. If you're really getting good at these posts, you're probably putting a lot more effort in it than just 5 minutes, but you get kind of what I'm trying to say. It's that you can reach such a large audience in such a shorter amount of time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could wake up every day and speak to a stadium of people. You know what I mean? Like, I'm at that point now where like an average post for me does like 20,000 impressions. It's like, well, now I wake up every day and I'm picture me at like a massive stadium, just speaking to people about, hey, follow Jesse Futia. I have all these great opportunities, or here's like all the lessons I've learned. Here's how you can learn more. And again, what other modem has that ability to do that? Like, I don't really think there is, other than harnessing the internet and social media. So people who use what I call digital leverage over the next, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years are going to be the ones who are successful long term, who drive more revenue for their businesses. And the people who don't use the digital leverage are the ones who will fail and not drive nearly as much revenue as they could, because they're just not harnessing what is, in my opinion, the greatest asset in the world right now that connects everyone, and it's the internet.
Definitely. And in just a few minutes, let's talk about FinGhost, what you're doing with that, how you're really helping people. But before we do that, for anybody who maybe they're really just starting out, they're starting out with their own business. Maybe they're not at that point yet where they need someone to take it off their hands because they still do have the time for it. What are some ways that they can add value to others, that they can gain a little bit of a following, they can start to build their brand?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people out there are in this boat who are just trying to get their feet wet and figure out, what's the next step I should go. And I think, when I was going back to 2021, when I was getting started, I picked a platform. For me, it was LinkedIn, because I like writing, more short form type stuff. LinkedIn, Twitter, both really good for that. And, you know, I would pick a niche in an audience that you want to target, figure out who that is. If it's, business owners, if it's real estate investors, if it's really niche it down, it's real estate investors from 35 to 45 who live in Dallas, Texas, or whatever, that might be, that you figure it out. And then I would start creating daily content, 4 to 5 times a week, writing and speaking to this audience directly. Lead with value, add tips and tricks and lessons learned from your journey that you can express to help somebody else with. And we're all in this boat right now where we have so much to write about when it comes to lessons learned. Like, I get hit all the time, Paul, with like, Jesse, you have $1 million story. I don't have I don't have anything to write about. Like, no, dude, that's so not true. Let me tell you, we all have $1 million stories. You just got to like go back into your history and be like, oh, dude, I remember this time when I was talking to this broker and the broker like laughed at me on the call and like hung up on me. Like, that's a good post idea right there. Like, go write about that, because that's going to add value to somebody else that's out there. So, couple, 3, 4 tips, steps that a new, brand builder person starting out there, and, pick a platform, niche down your audience as much as you can. The more you niche down, the better it'll be. Because the more clear you can speak to that audience, which is going to make them want to engage with you. It's going to make them want to follow you even more, or invest with you, or purchase your products or whatever. And then consistently do it. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. For the first 6 months of posting, Paul, I got barely any traction. Yeah. And a lot of people, like 99% of people, in my opinion, quit in that dark tunnel period of that first 6 months, because they just can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. But we've all been in that tunnel. Like, I've been in that tunnel. Thousands of other great creators have been in that tunnel. The only difference between the 1% and the 99% is that the 1% just continued to post and never quit. So if you're out there and you're like, Jesse, I'm trying, but I'm not gaining traction, like, my only advice to you would be keep trying new things. Don't be afraid to pivot. If you're doing a specific style of posting, try something different that can maybe spark something or give you some different ideas or something along those lines, and then keep going. If you don't quit, you will never fail in this game of content creation, because that's the only way to fail, in my opinion. So
No, totally. I love that. And my favorite thing that you said is, yeah, you're in the tunnel. And if you don't keep going, you're never going to see the light at the end of it. So
yeah.
it's really just a game. And this is what I've found as well. I'm a little bit newer on the content creation than I think you are. You've been doing it a little bit longer. But like you said, I didn't see any results in the first 6 months.
No,
I really saw nothing.
I didn't either. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. And then I'm about 6, 7 months in right now, and um, it's skyrocketed. The
Yeah,
amount
dude,
that
I know your
you
content is doing good.
finally, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. But you finally start seeing some of the light, and you're like, oh, there it is. It's over there. I just got to keep going. And
Yeah.
it's really exciting. Like, you get excited once it starts to catch on. And for me, the biggest thing has really just been interacting with other people. And I, as well, I chose LinkedIn as the platform that I use. I'm not doing the whole, Twitter, or now it's Threads. It just came
Threads, yeah.
out. But I've really found that consistency, especially. So I'm really glad you brought that up. That consistency is everything.
Yeah, and when you start finding that light at the end of the tunnel, dude, my only advice would be double down on what's working. 10x that. If there's like a specific style of posting or type of story, or when I use words like this in the post, like be able to identify those patterns and then double down and write 10 more posts that are of similar size, content, format to what did really well for you.
It's pretty funny. I saw something the other day that I don't know if anybody watching this, if they watch Mr. Beast, I'm sure their kids do.
Mhm.
But you and I were a little younger. I'm sure you know who Mr. Beast is. And Mr. Beast, for anybody who doesn't know, he's like the number one YouTube content
Mhm.
creator in the world. He's valued his social media platform somewhere like $10 billion, just simply because of his reach. And I saw something the other day that said every single one of his videos and every cut starts with the same words. And it's always "this is" every single time, because I don't know why, but he's tested it, trialed it out, and it gains the most traction. So just like you just mentioned, find something that works. For him, he found that one thing that worked and just doubled down on it. And
Yeah,
he's
dude.
10x'd it and really been able to grow.
Yeah, dude. I'm a huge fan of him. And yeah, it just takes time. It takes time. It takes a lot of trial and error in that first 6 months. Try a lot of different stuff. I'm still trying stuff. I still have posts that flop all the time as I'm continuing to try to improve my game and see, is there something else out there that could do and crush even better than what I'm doing right now? You know what I mean? So if you're having issues, if you're doing a lot of trial and error, keep going. That's the best way to learn. We're all in the same boat. It just takes time, and traction takes time. The algorithm takes time. It's not, you're not going to be a LinkedIn star in 1 week. So keep going.
Totally. And then let's talk about Fingos. Let's do this. So tell us about kind of what an ideal um the ideal goals of someone who wants to grow with you. What does that look like and how are you helping them? And then after that, maybe we'll jump into some client results and maybe some of the benefits that you guys have seen in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. So someone who wants to work with us, or, who needs a ghostwriter, is, a 7-figure business owner who is looking to drive more leads on social media through LinkedIn or Twitter. And basically how the ghostwriting works is like, I would interview you, Paul. I would extract all your data, all the amazing stories that make, Paul who you are. And then I would write the content for you. And what's kind of unique about it is it's in your voice, it's your content, it's your story. It's just scripted and formatted, and the correct verbiage is used that I know is going to drive the post to go viral, because I've done that several times, for myself and for all my clients. So really the ghostwriting is for, a high net worth individual who doesn't have the time or the energy to create that brand, who's looking to outsource it to someone else who can drive him hundreds of leads a month, DMs, followers, everything, email subscribers, selling more products, whatever your goal is, and to target that target audience that we can achieve for you. So it's been really awesome. It's been a crazy, unique experience that, my buddy and I founded here over the last 6 to 7 months, but we've driven some amazing results for clients. We've had clients hit multi-million impression months on LinkedIn. And we've had clients, sell tens of thousands of dollars of products, depending on what their offer size and whatnot is, raise, significant equity for their deals. We've had, amazing stories, 200 DMs in a single month asking to invest in their deals and whatnot. We've achieved all of these real client results for people by just because, we've done it ourselves. I always tell people I'm not a freelance writer by trade. I'm a real estate investor by trade. I've done all these things myself. I know how to do it. You could go out there and hire a marketing company, Paul, to write your content. But the
Yeah.
problem with that is you're going to get some college kid who doesn't even know what an interest rate is, who doesn't even know what a triple net lease is, who doesn't even know what a multifamily apartment building is. He's going to be asking you all these questions where I already have the insights to the industry. I've achieved the results that you want to achieve. The only difference now is I'm taking the results that I've achieved for myself and I'm replicating them for you in your voice. So it's been a really unique, awesome opportunity. And like I said, for the person out there who, maybe doesn't have the time, doesn't have the know-it-all to, invest 6 months into the dark tunnel or 12 months or whatever, who wants immediate results in the first 30 days, that's kind of our offer and what we achieve for people. And it's been a great opportunity that's helped dozens of people. And, we're continuing to grow it here over the next year. And we're super excited to continue to help people grow their brand on what is kind of the greatest asset in the world, the internet.
I agree. I love that. And it sounds like to me, you guys really just help people break through that learning curve. I mean, it's more of a straight line instead of hey, let's figure out how to use LinkedIn and, play with it, try out my new posts. You're giving them kind of a formula that already works.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And, there's a lot of people who maybe are a little bit older out there who, struggle on the internet or struggle on social media. They don't really understand the algorithms or the correct verbiage to, that's going to drive the algorithm. Just like we were talking to Mr. Beast, example there. He's a younger dude like you and I. There's a lot of older people out there who maybe don't know or understand how that works. And we're really good at fitting with those people, blowing their brands up, doing all the work for them. And they sit back and just collect the results at the end of the day, which is revenue in their pocket, more leads, more email subscribers and whatnot. So yeah, it's been a phenomenal opportunity. We've driven, again, multi-million impression months for a couple of our clients. We've had several posts, hit 200,000 plus impressions, viral, on a weekly basis for some of our clients and whatnot. And we're excited to continue to achieve those results and help more people who want to build their brand and succeed on the internet. So yeah.
Jesse, I love it. And as we start to wrap up here, I like to ask everybody on my podcast the same question. So I want to know, what is your why? Why do you do what you do? Why did you start getting invested in real estate? And anybody who follows you, I think, might know part of the answer because you do post about it pretty often. But if anybody doesn't follow you or anything like that, go ahead and share that with us now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the big why for me is, it's not about, commas or zeros in a bank account. It's about creating a financially secure lifestyle for myself and my family and the people that I love. And really, that's kind of the huge why. I hope, I'm putting in all this work now in my 20s and what's about to be my 30s here in a couple of years. But, I'm more than willing to do that if it means the next 5 decades that my family is secure and safe from a financial perspective. And I think there's no greater value than that, than going to bed every night knowing that, like, hey, I don't have to worry about, the next paycheck or anything like that. I've created a machine that makes money while I sleep, that monetizes while I sleep, that churns every single day, whether I show up to the office or not. And creating that machine, I think, will be the greatest, invention and the greatest idea that I've ever had, and feed my family for not just decades, but centuries to come. And that's really the goal at the end of the day, is to achieve that and help other people achieve the same, through investing in real estate and through brand building. And there's plenty of money in this world to go around for everyone, for us all to be successful, and helping people realize that is kind of really, it's a passion. So
Awesome. Well, I love it. Jesse, thanks so much for coming on and joining. It has been a pleasure talking with you. I always really enjoy it. I'm going to put the link to your LinkedIn and your website down below. Is there any other way that anybody should contact you, either about FinGhost, if they want to learn about some of the projects you're working on with real estate?
no, man, I would just say shoot me a DM on LinkedIn and hit me up, dude. And Paul, it's a pleasure being on today. You're a dude that I love, watching your content. And when I see dudes who break through the dark tunnel and continue to pivot and like finally find that light, it's like, dude, that gets me fired up. So I love your content, man. I love everything you're doing, the leads that you're driving. I know you're a marketing dude and you crush it anyway. So it's been a privilege being on here today and adding some value to your listeners and whatnot. And yeah, if anyone wants to learn more, just shoot me a DM and we can do a call and see if it's the right fit. But I've had a blast on here with you today, dude. So I appreciate you having me on.
Awesome. Of course. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul.